where, you know, it's disgusting. It's like reading something that makes your stomach turn. And then he makes up this goofy story about how these were going to be, they were having a dispute about whether to send them to the Parliament or the King, and they finally decided to send most of them to the bishops and some to Parliament and all this. And then he includes in that, appended to this, is a copy of the letter that was supposedly discovered accompanying this disgusting cargo. And it's a letter from the head, from the chief of the Indian tribe, saying, please accept this gift of we pay you honor with these gifts. Okay? This is how we do war, you know, the white man has his way and this is what we do. And then he says, and we hope you take this in the right, we offer these gifts in the fervent hope that you will not abandon us to these ravenous falcons that mean to destroy us and eliminate us from the earth. And he means the Americans. And my God, I mean, you know, Franklin knew that, and then right after the war, he wrote a long piece about the defeat of the French Navy. And he pretends like he's flying over the ships, and he describes both sides as being in the grip of insanity. I mean, just total insanity. And after the Revolutionary War, he told Priestley the whole damn thing was a waste of life. He said, you know, why didn't they just settle this? You know, if you'd listened to me, there wouldn't be, you know, tens of thousands of dead people, and all those folks run out of town and sent up to Nova Scotia. So he thought human folly had unlimited capacity to blind and make us into wolves to each other. So it's really quite stirring to read these pieces because, yeah.
Actually, just some of the comments that you made during your lecture, it sounded a little bit like Franklin's kind of a hedonist. And I was wondering if there's some kind of connection between, first of all, his scientific experimentation in desiring for technology to make life easier and more convenient and more pleasant, but also in his belief that we need the control sort of religion to help morality and help us.
Yeah, he never stopped saying that. He never stopped saying that it was the primary reason that people, you know, behave themselves. If they think they're going to go to hell and suffer, well, I mean, but he was a hard-nosed rationalist about that too. He said, you know, it makes perfect sense. If you can convince people to believe that, who would commit a crime, right? What person in his right mind, you know, would commit a crime knowing, right, that it means eternal fire? I mean, you have to be out of your mind to do that. In other words, you have to be innocent of the crime. You have to be deranged to make such a choice. And so he always thought that was true. But I mean, Franklin was yes, he was something of a hedonist. He liked. He saw nothing wrong with the pleasures of the body. He really didn't. And he loved women and he liked food a lot. And he wrote a dictionary called the Dictionary of Drinkers. And it has, I don't know, several hundred terms for what it means to be drunk. And so I mean, he wasn't a tippler, but he did once when he was young have he got drunk and fell into a barrel of pitch on the wharf and couldn't get out. And later on, he wrote a piece about how the idiocy of this young printer who was on the couch, he said, you know, drunk. And so he loved wine. His wine cellar in Passy was enormous. Not partly he had to do that for you know, for diplomatic reasons, but he did think that modern science, the purpose of it, and certainly as Bacon describes it, its ultimate aim is to make life easy for the human body. You know, relieve suffering, extend life, end pain, and he was all for that. But also, and he was for it for the Baconian reasons. In other words, he was for it in the sense that if human beings can really become convinced that we have a common enemy, and that's nature, which makes us sick, makes us get old and fall apart, and then we die. And if this project could convince all human beings that they had a common enemy, then the simple principle follows that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And that effectively this would put an end to the folly of political and religious conflict. And Franklin was all for that, but he had just this profound sense that don't count your chickens, that this is going to happen.
Yeah, I'll ask her, what inspired you to study this? I mean, what out of all the, what inspired you to pick this topic?
Well, like most things in life, it was an accident. I had written a lot on Francis Bacon, and a person who was the editor of this series came out in. It's available in the store if you're interested. Benjamin Franklin Unmasked. And he asked me if I would write a book about Benjamin Franklin, and I said I couldn't do it because I hadn't read anything in my life of Benjamin Franklin. And so he said, well, you'll find that you'll like him because he's in this constant tug of war with Francis Bacon. So I started reading Franklin a lot, and I read everything he wrote, just about, which is a lot. I actually fell in love with him. I mean, he's so smart and so funny and so deep a thinker that I couldn't put it down when he was smarter than I think. I mean, this is just private opinion here, with no scholarly backing up, but I think he was smarter than all the other founders times 10. He really times 10. Yes, he was. When you read his comic prose, he makes Mark Twain look boring. I recommend to you his most wonderful piece, which took me quite a few months to figure out, called Old Mistress Appleloaf, which was, I don't even have a question here. Old Mistress Appleloaf, he wrote it to himself, and it's about a man who's afraid that he's going to die of syphilis because he can't control his urges, and he's hanging around what Franklin refers to as low prostitutes. So he advises him to get married. That's the easy thing. But if you won't do that, he says, have all your affairs with old ladies. And then he gives 8 reasons or 9 reasons why, and the last is the most famous. They're so grateful. But the middle reason is so obscene that I cannot. And this piece unravels like an onion. And at the end of the day, it is the most profound and extraordinary sort of critique of the bourgeois family. Here was the man who was noted for being a bourgeois capitalist, and he writes this extraordinary reflection on romance and erotic love and sex. He was amazing. Yeah, sorry.
Quite a number of very commendable comments about Franklin, but was there ever a time when he was not thought of so fondly, either as he was on his ascent or in...
Oh, Franklin had lots of enemies. Franklin had lots of enemies.
What were some of the specific types of things that they...
Adams hated him. John Adams hated him because he said he never gets up, he sleeps all morning, stays up all night, eats all the time, drinks, and then he said, don't fool him, don't be fooled by him. He's a Presbyterian to the Presbyterians. He's an Anglican to the Anglicans. He's this to this, he's this to that. And he said, don't you believe it? He's a, what is it he says? He says, Franklin has all the philosophers and the ladies in his train. He's another Voltaire and worse. So he really hated him. Now that's because Franklin was so much smarter than Anglican. I mean,
So he had bad habits and he was a chameleon.
Yes, he had some bad
But
habits.
I mean, about his thinking, about his the ideas.
Oh no, he was much too careful. He did get run out of town He did get in trouble when he was a youth in Boston.